All right, peace and blessings, everybody. It's your brother Sorry back with yet another one. So we're up to the 19th law of power. We're still doing the 48 laws of power and everything like that. Um, Now your 19th law of power. This is what I affectionately call the F around and find out law. You see what I'm saying? The 19th law of power. Know who you're dealing with and do not offend the wrong person. Right? I correspond this to the teaching in TM, um, dealing with the language of positions and holes in the structures. So people like that. So I'm just talking about holes in structures, man. We're just talking about, okay, have you ever driven a car with no insurance? That's a hole in the structure. Have you ever had a warrant out for your arrest? That's a hole in the structure. Have you ever had a broken arm? That's a hole in the structure. Have you ever I don't know, had your check garnished? That's a hole in the structure. I can go on and on and on. Things that things that basically create weaknesses in your overall constitution of how you're doing things. They can manifest on various different levels, but that's what we're talking about, or whatever case may be. This ties into never know who you're dealing with, because as we get into some of this material, um, a lot of the people, um, I don't know who may be aware or who may be able to view the holes in your structure. They may not look like nothing. You see what I'm saying? There are people who may have cultivated themselves in a certain way that may be able to identify holes in particular structures or whatever case may be, and there's no way of knowing. The methods of the scientists are not always known to the public at large or whatever case may be. So this person may not look like nothing. This person may have a background in whatever science or whatever discipline or whatever case may be, and they may be wearing street clothes today. You don't know that they can identify the deficiencies in a particular structure or whatever case may be. So that's what we're gonna get into right now, when we get into this 19th law of power, this F around and find out law. So, okay, so this law of power, as discussed by Robert Greene, it applies to attempting to deceive someone, right? Like I always say, when we're dealing with a lot of the stuff out of TM, TM is not designed necessarily for the purpose of deceiving anyone. It's designed to help a person become the best version of themselves. It's designed to cultivate enhanced levels of awareness, so you'll be able to kind of identify the patterns in your life and the lives of others. Maybe it'll save you some heartache and pain as far as some situations that you can see coming before they come, and you can kind of um, avert disaster in certain ways. It's designed to allow you to be able to see when you're at your best, the moments when you're at your best and everything like that, and how to duplicate them, seeing the things that kind of like take you out of the element of being at your best and how to avoid them or whatever case may be. That's kind of what we're dealing with True Master. Developing a relationship with yourself, understanding the connection between the relationship with other people in your life and the relationship with yourself. Finding a balance for that and stuff like that. That's kind of what the purpose and the material, or how True Master is presented, how I present it. Um, in contrast with, let's say, like the 48 laws of power. No shade on the 48 laws of power. It's still relevant information. I wouldn't be going over it if it wasn't. But 48 laws of power do more so with manipulation and exploitation. It has a value because in True Master material, we can still navigate through that whole mindset or whatever case may be. And you can also kind of see it from the perspective if somebody was trying to manipulate you or exploit you, how you would actually deal with it. So this law applies to attempting to deceive someone, as it's been laid out by Robert Greene. I think a good parallel of this would be what the people who practice Thelema um, would say: "Do as thou wilt" will be the whole of the law. You see what I'm saying? That's a phrase that Aleister Crowley popularized. The "do as thou wilt" phrase, that should be the whole of the law, right? So now in the fine print below that. So that's one side of it. So on the fine print, um, it would state you can do what you want. However, there is a chance that you may run across someone equal or greater in might and power, and their will may overtake yours. So that's the counterbalance to that. You see what I'm saying? The do as I will thing. The counterbalance to that, you might have another cat that's doing as he will, and he might have a little bit more muscle than you. You see what I'm saying? You might kick a hornet's nest, and you bit off more than what you could chew. So that kind of correlates with that whole idea. Okay, so in TM, there is an idea of structures and anti-structures. What's the structure and anti-structure? If I'm a criminal, then the anti-structure for a criminal would be law enforcement. You see what I'm saying? If it's Ali versus Frazier, if I'm Ali, then my anti-structure in that fight would be Joe Frazier. You see what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what we're dealing with. Okay, so TM has a idea of structures and anti-structures. Anti-structures and anti-balance points seek to disable, incapacitate, or do harm to the functionality of your structure. Okay, from a TM perspective. Okay, an example of that, if you follow the Iran-Iraq war, their operations have been like that. So on the Israeli side, Iran, Iraq. I think I said it wrong. Israeli Iran war or whatever case may be. If you following that on the Israeli side, they got the Operation Rising Lion. On the Iran side, they got Operation True Promise. I think True Promise 3. Okay, so now on the Rising Lion side, the Israelis systematically in the beginning attacked their military hardware, nuclear scientists, and nuclear sites. Right. So even though on the military side of the game, they probably don't call them structures and balance points, but as you can see, they're operating off of the same. They're operating off of a network of military assets, whether they be people or whether they be equipment. You see what I'm saying? So that would still constitute what we're calling a structure or whatever the case may be, all being anti-balance points in the anti-structure, which would be Iran from the Israeli perspective. From an Iranian perspective, these attacks would be the destruction of its balance points by an anti-structure being Israel. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so let's get into this whole thing about holes in the energy, man. Because so you talking about my car insurance, and you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, arrest warrants and things. So what are these holes in the energy that you talking about? So hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Talking about all the holes in the energy. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this, right? Okay, true holes in the energy, right? Or miniature checkmates, right? Similar to what we talked about in the beginning of this whole video, or whatever case may be. It's not a stamp on a person's head that says, "Hey, man, I'm a judo master, I'm an engineer, or I'm a this, some of that," or whatever case may be. People don't have stamps on their head, so you never know who you're talking to. You see what I'm saying? So let's see here. Attacking true holes in the energy are like identifying miniature checkmates. They can be acted upon cleanly. They are set up and supported by a position that allows you to obtain the desired result without having to raise the intensity of the interaction. Remember, I said before in previous videos, you should not, ideally, you wouldn't have patterns have a tempo to them, like a music or whatever case may be. Speeding up or slowing down the energy, or attempting to speed up or slow down the pattern, that would suggest some manner of fear of exploitation. If you ain't got no fear of exploitation and you just rolling with the music, you should be able to resolve the energy without having to speed up or slow down anything. You should be able to operate within the natural music of what's going on. Okay, so let me see here. Executing your will is not the struggle. Gaining the winning position is the struggle. Remember we said in the previous video or whatever case may be, the journey to the winning position is the fight. Once you attain the dominant position, um, you should the dominant position will afford you the ability to execute your will at will. The fight is the journey to getting to the point where you can just do what you want when you want. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let me see. After the dominant position is achieved, you can execute your will at will. Dominant position creates winning opportunities that are so crisp that relative to the speed of the transaction, they are wide open. Miniature checkmates. through accumulation build the overall victory. As they accumulate, they can potentially allow advancing structures to steal time from the opposing structure and their defense. Stealing time means if I'm closer to the outcome that I'm seeking or whatever the case may be, and it's gonna take me less time to do what I need to do. Proper position is a cheat for time. You see what I'm saying? If it's a car that has a half a mile to travel down the road and it's speeding toward me 100 miles an hour as fast as it can go, or whatever the case may be, and I'm like a half a mile down the road, it got a half a mile to travel, but all I got to do is walk right across the street. I'm gonna always get across the street before that car can hit me. Position is a cheat for time. So let me see here. Let's go back. Got on a tangent. Okay, so as they accumulate, they can potentially allow advanced structures to steal time from the opposing structure in their defense. Stealing time meaning the closer to attaining your goal, the more you are supported by your circumstances. The closer to attaining your goal, the more you are supported by your circumstances. So if you got a 10-year degree, you going to school to be a doctor, you did 8 years of them 10-year degree, you got a significant amount of credits, man. You might want to finish up because you come too far to turn back. You see what I'm saying? It's more advantageous for you to just finish versus, you see what I'm saying? You're just not like you at your first day. You got a whole 10 years in front of you. You got like a couple of semesters to go and then you're done. You see what I'm saying? Your circumstances support you more the closer you get to what you're trying to do. Okay, so let's see here. There's less time needed. There's less time needed for setup. Now the defending structure must adjust itself in time to adopt a defensive posture that will ward off any advances on the structure. At balance points, the defending structure is forced into hesitation to attempt to slow down time to be able to gather more details. Uh, if you okay, so peep this. If you take opportunities that are not true holds, there may be consequences as a result. So if you take an opportunity that looks like an opportunity, but it's not an opportunity, it might end up being a greater setback, and you may open yourself up to some sort of uh, um, situation that's not in your best interest or whatever the case may be, right? Um, let's say if you've been married 15 years, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? You got a crush on the dude at your job, you know what I'm saying? And you just, some kind of crazy idea got you thinking that, hey man, if I could just, woo, 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 or whatever the case may be. And, you know, you pursue, you pursued the guy at your job or whatever the case may be, and it turns out bad, and then you lose your whole marriage off the strength of you pursuing the guy, at your job, something of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like the holes in the energy, pursuing things that appear to be opportunities, but they're not opportunities or whatever case may be. Misjudging holes in the energy can potentially leave you open and expose you to worse circumstances and situations or whatever case may be. And this is what I'm saying. Um, this it's put in a universal context so it fits multiple different situations. So that could apply to that situation. It could apply to numerous other situations or whatever. Taking opportunities and risks. It might be a car you wanted to buy. You see what I'm saying? And you took a risk to buy that thing. You misjudged it. It wasn't a deal like you thought it was a deal. It seemed like a deal, but you bought a lemon. You see what I'm saying? It can apply to numerous different situations, observing holes in the energy or whatever case may be. So again, we can take something out of the laws of power when it's talking about know who you're dealing with as far as the wrong person or whatever case may be, but also know what you're dealing with as far as the opportunity that you choose. When we filter it through True Master, we get a little bit extra sauce on that. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let's see. If you take opportunities that are not true holes, there may be consequences as a result. The less secure holes are based in part on timing rather than position. So if they less secure, they might be based on a particular timing. They may not be legitimate holes. You see what I'm saying? A legitimate hole would be something that based on your skill set, um, you should be able to attain to. um, things that may not be holes, you know, see what I'm saying? May not be true holes in the energy or whatever. They may just be a lapse in timing or whatever case may be, but it's not something that's consistent. It's not something that's an opening that happens all the time. It's just might be something or whatever that happened this one time or whatever, or it might be some sort of haphazard circumstance or whatever case may be. Okay, so less secure holes based in partly on time rather than position. If the hole is less than secure, that means that you never truly had position in the first place. Sometimes they may not be holes at all, just bait or clever traps. Okay. How we talked about negative performance contracts, concealed preparation. If you are greedy to impose your will, you will create a hole in your own structure. If you make moves based solely on emotion or reactive emotion specifically, they can easily be countered because you are not making moves based on the mathematics of the situation instead of reacting to your interpretation of the situation um, emotionally. So, operating off of emotions in certain situations as opposed to the actual mathematics of the situation. When we say the mathematics of the situation, we're talking about stuff like what we're talking about now. This is the reason why we put things in a universal energetic context or whatever the case may be, so that when there are situations where um, we may have a particular there's situations that we may have a particular level of situational bias for, or whatever the case may be, emotional bias for, or whatever the case may be, that causes us to judge the situation incorrectly, or whatever the case may be. When we view the situation from a universal energetic perspective or whatever, a lot of times it takes away our personal preference out of the scenario or whatever, and lets us view it objectively or whatever the case may be, so we can get a cleaner picture and a more definitive answer for what we need, what we might be trying to figure out or whatever. It's not a cure all for everything or whatever, but sometimes it'll give us the opportunity to view situations without that person that pisses us off, without that place. Oh man, I don't like being. You viewing it as okay, language of situations, what's happening, language of positions, who are the parties involved, or whatever the case may be. What are the structures at work? Okay, what is this what energy is this structure imposing on my structure, or whatever the case may be? Or see what I'm saying? You won't be blinded by certain levels of emotion. So that's just one benefit of kind of viewing things through this lens. Um, Let me see here. Okay, so like we said on a previous video, when you concentrate attention, your awareness adjusts to pick up details that the less obvious or that may be less obvious or imperceptible to regular levels of perception. A behavioral psychologist can read your body language while a crossing guard may not be able to. All right. So structures with higher levels of awareness, people with higher levels of awareness or whatever, can easily detect uh, holes in the energy. And sometimes those people who can detect those holes in the energy also have the ability to act upon those holes. And sometimes those same people have the maliciousness to act upon those holes in the energy or whatever case may be. So it's all kind of different variables. But that's your let's see, the level of uncertainty in the sense of uncertain methods of understanding is also a factor. The F around and find out. So this is the 19th law of power, the F around and find out law. You see what I'm saying? Um, yeah. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. Contrasted with the language of position and holes and structures from TM. Hope y'all enjoy it, man. I think I got one more for y'all today. And I'm gonna take it in. I think I've might have burned up y'all attention span for the day, but appreciate y'all for rocking with me on this little string of videos we doing. Um, Catch y'all on the last one. You know what I mean? Peace and blessings.